Go.
Hey guys, so this is our new League of Legends esports talk show focused on the NA and EULCS. It's inspired by Pardon the Eruption from ESPN, and basically we'll be going through a list of topics in rapid fire format. It's kind of a debate show. Trying to go for a new angle of like shorter to quicker topics. Just see how it plays out. Hope you guys enjoy it. So yeah, let's get this show on the road.
All right. So for stars, we're going to start with just take a look at the brief look at the standings. We got a lot of parity going on in North America right now. So what do you think about what do you think about our 8-1-1 teams right now in the
Uh,
NALCS?
Yeah, so the truth is, I actually think that parity would be a little bit of a misleading term, actually, because the thing is, if you notice, the first week they try to like really put together a really hyped up matchup, play like the two big teams against the two big teams, or like they'll play like some of the lower end teams versus other lower end teams. So I think that in some respects, particularly like Team Impact or Team Impulse or Dignitas or Coast, some of these teams, their 1-1 record doesn't entirely belie the really interesting nature of the games. But like for example, Winter Fox, Gravity, and Team 8, their 1-1 record really says a lot because they had some like disappointing losses and some really like striking upsets.
Well, yeah, it's
So
subs. And if you go 1-1 in the week you have subs, you've done pretty good.
yeah, no, absolutely, I completely agree. Especially Winter Fox, like those were like three random players pretty much. I heard they only played like a few hours of scrims, and like in their game against Gravity, they looked like a real team. Like they're just roaming across the map, making plays all over the place. And yeah,
No, I definitely agree. I think they really started really well. I think it's going to be a few more weeks before they're actually in a good spot, just because they're going to have to actually work in their Korean players now. But they might actually have won more games this week than they do next week.
yeah, absolutely. Just and another thing I just wanted to mention was I think that like just having like the 1-1 record, a lot of people were joking, oh, this is like just like the ULCS like a few seasons back when all the teams were really famous for trading off against each other. And I think that's partially true because some of the upsets, Gravity versus Cloud9, Teammate versus TSM. But on the other hand, it's just the first week of the season. We don't know exactly how balanced these teams are yet. And a lot of the upsets that came from teams getting really favorable comps versus teams that looked like they were just kind of shaky on the champions they were playing. So I think we'll have to wait a while to see if real parity has been brought to NA yet, or if it's still going to be like a tier, kind of like a tier list of top teams, middle teams, and bottom teams, like there's been in all the seasons prior.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. One thing to take a look at is, so we're looking at a record. We have one team up top that's 2-0 in NA, three teams up top in EU, and then there's one team in the bottom in NA that's 0-2, and then again we have three teams in the bottom of EU that's are 0-2. So no team has ever had a losing record and won the split. And only one team, which is the Lemon Dogs from season 3, the summer split, has ever started with a losing record and finished top 2. So you're looking at something where it's just like just by starting with that 0-2 record at the start, like you've dug yourself into a pretty deep hole. It is, out of 2 games instead of like the previous 2 weeks of 4, but we also have an 18-game schedule instead of a 28-game schedule. So that's a pretty big hole, especially for a team like Cloud9. We definitely would not have expected them to be stuck in that hole this early.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But the crucial thing to note is that because of the interesting playoff system and like how the teams are at the top, like the seeds don't really matter. Like not even like skipping the first round is nice, but for all we know, skipping the first round could actually cause damage to your chances. Like I'm thinking about like maybe Curse in the very first split, they got to skip the first round. And they came in, it looked like they weren't really as warmed up as Vulcan, who just took them out right off the bat. So I don't even know. Like I feel like as long as Cloud9 makes the playoffs, like
Right,
let's say
they'll
I'm
be
like
able
a
to
big
close
fan of
hard.
like
You only have to make top
yeah
6.
yeah exactly. Like let's say I'm a big fan of I don't know like maybe the third place team, maybe it's TSM or something, and they're playing Cloud9 in the first round. Like I don't even know if I want that to happen.
No, I
Like
definitely,
I'd
yeah.
be like yeah, like I'd be like, hey, what is going on here? Like this sucks. If anyone watches basketball, I'd compare to the San Antonio Spurs this season are coming off to a really slow start in the NBA, but like they're still a juggernaut. Like
Yeah,
nobody
no,
wants
they
to play
are.
against them.
We do have to move on to the next topic though, our super
Okay.
subs. We're a little behind here.
Yeah. Okay.
That was actually the big story in NA. It's just like for some odd reason the teams with the subs were doing very well. Benny performed very well on COG. He's one of the best top laners that's this week actually. I think he was the highest
Yeah,
scoring
it was
top laner.
quite surprising. It really looked like he still had it. Like, I mean, on XDG, he was always known for being more of that, that supportive style top laner. He doesn't feed, like kind of like a Dyrus light, like. And he was really bringing it for CLG today. Not today, sorry, over the weekend. I'm pretty excited to see what will happen when they bring in Zahn. I mean, for all we know, Zahn's carry style, it could end up meshing like worse with the team, or it could end up like meshing better because it takes off less pressure from like Link to be that really big carry, and he can just go back to being more of a supportive player.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens on that end.
Rooks was the other top lane sub that actually did very well. He went even in most of his matchups, which is, not bad when he's going up against Cali Trolls and Quaz. So he was going relatively even with Cali Trolls and Quaz, which are two of the best top laners in EU.
Yeah.
So
In NA, yeah. No, Rux. I mean, one of the storylines to really bring out here was, a lot of these substitutes players are coming in for, Korean imports who are brought in, and yeah, I think that Korean outside imports have really boosted the growth of the scene, really made it better. But something to note is a lot of people like to say that there's not a lot of talent in North America. That might be true when you compare it to like guys like coming from EU, like Power of Evil, just coming out of challengers, being top tier players right away. But there's definitely a lot of really strong players coming out in NA. Like Rux has been around for a long time. And, every time he's had the chance to play against top competition, he's kind of proven himself. Sometimes he chokes, but by the way, he plays pretty well. Keith played really well today.
We have Keith as the last one before we move on to the next topic, because we're falling behind. God, Keith was... Team Liquid looks so good, and that's with Keith. And I guess when you bring in Piglet, that's somewhat frightening.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's gonna be a pretty scary situation when you see them all come out. And I mean, I have a lot of respect for Keith's gameplay, but he's not as good as Piglet. Like Piglet I think Piglet will just demolish people, especially when paired with X Special. Like,
God, that's gonna be. We got robbed of seeing Piglet X Special versus Double FNAF from Moon Week 1 because of that. I'm so mad.
Yeah, no, we got robbed. And the worst thing is you only get to see it one other time in the split, unless they meet each other in the playoffs, so that's a real bummer.
We can pray. Alright, so, Fnatic. Fnatic started 2-0. Like, what the hell? Did anyone see that coming? I mean,
actually,
besides
shout out to Stride as Veteran on Twitter. He was literally telling everyone, including me, for maybe like months, that Fnatic was going to be really good. Like, he would not shut up about it. And, he's been really vindicated. They're looking really good. I'm really surprised.
What I didn't know is that they'd actually set out specifically to build a team around Yellow Star, which apparently has worked out very well. Very well, so...
Yeah, like I said, it's a smaller sample size, just 2 games, and I think that sometimes when you bring in like new players, teams will sometimes have like a little bit of a hard time figuring out exactly what to do against this like new look team. Like we saw this with the original Meet Your Makers lineup when they brought in Charu and he had like teleporting mid style, and they started off 5-1 and then they ended up getting relegated. So I'm not saying that's gonna happen to Fnatic, but I am saying that Fnatic's style is kind of a roam heavy style, like Reignover, Yellow Star, Febivin, and even Huni. Like they're all players who like to move around the map and try to like create plays for the team. And it was definitely like shocking a lot of the teams they're playing against. They looked way more coordinated than a team that just got thrown together.
Well,
that's for sure.
I think Huni was like the MVP of that team this week. I mean, besides Yellow Star is really good, but Huni's performance was really good.
Yeah, no, it was a really pleasant surprise to see how well he played. Like people said he was really crushing in scrims. But, like, it's always great to just see someone go out and show it on the stage.
Well, yeah, that's especially, I mean, their first game was against Elements, which is, it's super surprising, right? Because you have the team that was the best team in EU last year, They, apart from a hiccup against Kaboom, would have possibly made the quarterfinals of the World Championship. And here they roll in, and Wicked's on his best champion, and he goes 3-11. And then Febivin had a 22 KDA on Xerath, who's still, as we all know, just as annoying to play against as he used to be.
Yeah, no, seriously, I mean, I think we'll talk about this later on when we go to like picks and bans, but I think that Xerath is kind of an interesting champion. Like it either goes really well or really poorly. So yeah, what other topics are there to talk about?
Liquid.
I mean, it's Team Liquid.
Yeah. Because Liquid's the other team that they built around to support. because we have all that was left over. We had I Will Dominate left over, Quaz left over, and then we had X Special left over. Quaz is your
Yeah.
shot caller. X Special is also your shot caller, depending on the time of the game. And then they went looking for the best AD carry they could find, and then a mid laner who they thought would be able to dominate team fights. Not team fights,
Yeah.
the lane. Dominate the lane.
The laning phase. Yeah, the laning phase
This,
is why.
yeah. And the thing is just like, all three lanes are so strong, who are you going to go after?
Yeah.
Like-
No, they're really like just a balanced, just a really balanced team. Like I don't really know how people are going to. And the most interesting thing is that at heart, their core of I Will Dominate, Quas, X Special are all supportive players. Like you showed to me earlier, like you said, you noted that Quas has he has like some of the least goal distribution out of all the top laners. And yeah, like that's like when people think of Quas, they think of like him destroying CLG with that split pushing Nidalee in the playoffs. But the truth is, Quas has always been a very, very supportive player. He played Mundo in the challenger scene before anyone else did. Like this was before Mundo was considered an overpowered pick.
Yeah.
He would play Mundo. One of his best champions of all time is Lulu. And like this guy is actually he's really versatile, but I think he actually excels the most when he's playing those supportive picks. So it's really interesting for them to go out and find that like Korean carry engine of like Phoenix and Piglet to plug in with these three essentially top tier supportive players in North America. And it's worked out well for them in week 1. They beat some pretty strong opponents. We'll have to see what happens in heading into week 2 when they face some tougher opponents.
Quaz was also by far the best Gnar we saw this weekend.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The only one who was really good, Dyrus, had like really not much impact in TSM's loss to Team 8 because like
actually Chris had a really good Gnar.
He did, but like Dyrus couldn't time Mega Gnar at all.
Yeah.
Like, he never got a Mega Gnar off in a fight. Which Quaz was on fire. I do want to temper it. Liquid did play. They played COG, and they played Impulse.
Yeah,
they have
who were
Cloud9
not exactly
and
strong as
TSM next week.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if
so
it's the real deal.
That'll be when we get to see whether the real Liquid stand up, and Piglet and Phoenix should hopefully be back in time for that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Liquid is able to deal with Cloud9's supposedly superior shot calling. Seems like Hai's in rough shape right now, both mechanically and with his shot calling. And also just to see Phoenix against Bjergsen, also see if TSM's bomb lane can hold up to Piglet and X Special.
Yeah,
and
that's for sure.
TSM and Alliance, TSM and Elements are two teams that enter the season with like lots of expectations, and they both started 1-1 after kind of getting blue shelled by an opponent I don't think anyone expected them to lose to.
Yeah.
Elements lost to Fnatic. They did manage to take down Unicorns of Love, but I don't think anyone expected them to start 1-1. They're like Cloud9, is that they're the other team that didn't make any roster changes. Well, sorry, they did. They made one. They picked up Freckles.
But he looked really good at IM, so it seemed like they were going to have a good thing going. So the one thing that I've noted about Elements, and a lot of people who follow the EU scene a lot have pointed out to me, like I mentioned, Veteran, House Spiffy, people like that, they mentioned that Alliance has actually struggled a lot when playing against Royals, even more so now that they no longer have Taps. Taps is actually an interesting player in that when he played Twitch, he would create so much like movement. He was like that guy, like he'd try to make something happen with like a Twitch pick or something.
Yep.
And they don't have that now. And Fnatic was just running all around the map. Yeah, Fnatic was running all around the map, and Froggen's like just farming under tower. And Froggen's philosophy, like, it works, but he needs another guy on his team to make those plays. It's really interesting because
the meta is moving farther and farther away from just like the sit mid and farm playstyle just doesn't work. Like what he should be is like what Zhao Wei Zhao is. Zhao Wei Zhao will sit mid and farm to death. Like he's one of the most prolific farming laners in the world. But he will make a play. He will make a play if he needs to make play. So he's like Froggen needs to find a way to channel some aggression because they don't have any playmakers right now.
Yeah.
Shook's supposed to fill that role. I just don't know if he can. He looked.
It's actually interesting because I felt like the one player who I feel like they really missed out on was Edward. Like when they were trying to put together the super team, Edward would have been that playmaker who could have made it all come together. You know, I think that Froggen can evolve into that player. Like if you remember, his Kassadin was just monstrous. Like against Unicorns of Love, and I think that it's possible that he'll be able to put it together. The thing is that just out of Froggen's like own champ pool, not a lot of the mids he likes to play the most are those big playmakers.
No, they
so
are.
we'll have to see what happens on that end.
And right now, like you look at Fnatic was looking for a new top laner, and Alliance replaced one player. What about Kevin? Kevin doesn't have a team.
Yeah,
Kevin was like one of the most underrated players last summer split.
I agree. I've heard that he's fallen off a little bit out of like perhaps a lack of practice.
Right.
Because for all I know, if they picked him up, he could have just practiced back up there. He would have been good. I don't really like that wicked move on that team.
I don't either. And if we're looking at teams that are going to be making roster changes, I don't want to contribute to Circus, but Cloud9 is 0-2. They had their hallmark. I know you're gonna say it's an early start. Their hallmark is good shot calling. They had two massive leads. Like in both games, Balls was ahead of his lane opponent by like 50 or 60 CS in like 10 minutes. Like just absurd amounts, and they couldn't transition that into a victory. And I don't get. He was up by 42 CS at 10 minutes over Dyrus, and he was up 41 over Hanser. And then he was up. At one point, he was up 90 CS over Hanser in 20 minutes, and that's against.
A weird thing has happened to Cloud9, where it used to be that they would have these playmakers, like Balls and Lemon were. Okay, I guess so. The one player on the team who wasn't exactly a playmaker was Sneaky, who just provided that really solid backline damage. But Balls and Lemon used to be pretty big playmakers, and like there's been like a weird just like a lack of energy from those players, where but they're just not making the plays that they used to. They used to be really high impact players. I'm not too sure what's going on right now. Like people will really point to High as like
I look at videos.
See, it's like a weird thing has just happened to all the members of the team. Like, and I am so crisp, but now their like main playmakers have fallen off. It's hard to win.
Lemon is missing skill shots.
Every single ultimate. Yeah, and Lemon and High missed like every single ultimate.
It was really bad. It was really bad. High looked not himself, and I guess one of the things where if that continues, the reason High is so valuable is that shot calling. If he's not giving the shot, if that shot calling isn't there, then I guess like that's when you start thinking about maybe we should replace him. And they specifically said they're never going to replace anybody, but I stand by my prediction that before the end of the season they'll be replacing somebody. And
we'll have to see what happens.
They have a coach now, but who does the coach stand there in picks and bans and just look pretty? Or is it still Lemon Nation's responsibility?
Those interviews, it sounded like the coach just sits there, right? Like I'm not sure. I don't know anything about behind the scenes, but even based on that, like those bits that come out, you know what I mean, like the promotional bits, it just sounds like their coach just sits there. I know that Charlie's a really smart guy. Like he did.
I think Loco actually is involved. I think Loco is one of the coaches that's involved. Like he doesn't just sit there. I think he actually.
Yeah. I thought you meant involved with Cloud9. I was a little bit.
No, because TSM's the team that isn't great at picks and bans, so I'm really certain that Loco probably helps.
Yeah.
But no, Cloud9. I mean, next week they face Liquid. They also face CLG. CLG looked okay. I mean, it's not impossible to be like they could go 0-4, and that's crazy.
I don't know what happened then. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's too early to say like the death of Cloud9 or stuff like that. But it's a pretty tough gauntlet they have to run through. So we'll just see what happens at the end of 2 weeks. Visit again next week. Like,
and
we'll certainly be talking about
that game was the first game. It continued the trend of EU. Picks and bans this weekend were nuts.
Yeah.
Picks and bans were like in EU, they just pretend Gnar doesn't exist half the time, even though in Korea, Gnar either gets banned every game or doesn't survive the first round of picks.
Yeah.
In EU, they're just it could be just because like everyone there's like so many like Aurelia mains over there, so it's just like and it's pretty clear from what we've seen, the games we've seen, that Aurelia is a pretty hard counter to pretty much whatever Gnar brings. Chris dumped on TSM.
Sorry. Yeah, no, not TSM. Oh man, what was the team?
Oh no, Chris. Sorry, you're right.
Winter Fox. Winter Fox.
I meant to say Cali dumped on TSM.
Oh yeah. No, the weird thing about these picks and bans is I feel like coaches are still learning to how to
Yeah.
accomplish a lot of these picks bans. We've seen some really clever some really clever pick ban moves. Like just off the top of my head, the gravity flex with Kassadin.
Yeah, I agree.
Not,
There's a lot more flex picks out there right now than there have been in the
yeah,
past. Like Cass is a flex pick, which is interesting.
Cassandra.
It's weird that Cassiopeia is suddenly a pick because
Yeah,
that
no,
might have been the first time she'd been picked since season 2 because I Reggie was the
yeah.
player in season 2.
Yeah, no. The thing about picks and bans is, but the one thing is, I feel like sometimes coaches are kind of getting a little ahead of themselves, like kind of outsmarting themselves, if that makes sense. Like, and like actually, I mentioned this on Twitter, but the other one I would have noticed was Gravity's first round pick against Winter Fox. That was a brilliant draft, but they drafted some champions they don't really play. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like a similar thing happened to some other teams too. Like, you see like a really great drafting process, but it's not quite like coaches are definitely helping the drafting process a lot, but it's not quite at the level of like just godlike draft after draft after
No, it's
draft.
not.
You even see this happen in a LCK where Faker randomly first picked Xerath and his coach was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds like a great idea." You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's still coming together. It's still coming together. But I'm excited. Like I love like the mind game of picks and bans and like the intelligence pattern. And I think coaches are really improving it. And this is an area that will only go up higher and higher as the coaches get more experienced.
Yeah, and the teams that have good coaches, I would imagine, they're ahead already. So, but
Yeah.
that should help. Like in the summer split, I think every team, like the teams that have new rosters, like they're all gonna have their shit together. But this
Yeah.
split should be the split where the teams have had established coaches, like theoretically TSM should not be getting outpicked by anybody.
Yeah.
That they should be ahead of the game because they've already been. They haven't been in Champions League, but they've been designing these content. Cloud9 should have been ahead of the game because Lemonation's been inside their
Yeah.
team selection every time. But
Yeah.
the pick I really want to kind of zero in on is that Nar pick because
Oh
Nar
yeah.
is Nar and Jarvan are like it's Nar, Jarvan, like Janna, and then like Lissandra are the 4 team fight power picks right now. Like if you somehow manage to get all 4 of them on your team, like the enemies.
Yeah.
And Liquid got that comp. I think they got pretty close. Liquid
Yeah.
got pretty
No.
close to that comp. So Liquid clearly has the driving order, but there's Nar. So in EU they play 10 games. Nar was picked in 5 and banned in 1. So there's 4 games that Nar wasn't even sniffed, and that just
Yeah.
wouldn't happen in Korea.
Yeah,
North
the thing is, quick pause here. Just something I want to know. The thing is, I feel like the players in the West, there's some people who just aren't NAR players.
They aren't good at it.
Like,
No, they're not.
no, they're just terrible. In fact, picking NAR when your top laner does not know how to play
It's
it
bad.
is actually
Yeah, he
outright
takes a lot of skill. But
It's
that's
literally
always,
just like Teemo top lane without the blind or like the shrooms. Like
Right.
in his little
Yeah.
NAR mode, he's pretty much just Teemo, like without like any Teemo attacks.
except a
like,
little more durable and a little less Saiyan. I guess the
yeah,
thing with Nar
exactly.
is, and the difference between Korea and the West is Korean top laners really can just pick up anybody. Every Korean top laner can pick up anybody for the most part.
Yeah, for the most
There
part. I mean,
aren't many
you can even see some players struggling. Like Shy is struggling with Gnar in Korea. He just has to ban it every game.
Yeah.
So
And
like I feel like wait, sorry, you go first. Sorry.
yeah, in the West, like I think the tops we have, they can pick up like Dyrus can pretty much pick up anybody anytime once. He's never
Yeah.
he plays every meta champion. Quaz obviously, but you get players like Wicked who are on like really good teams. They don't have the champion pools. They don't learn.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, he
it's
can
very
pick.
frustrating to see that happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, in NA, it's almost like they didn't watch EU LCS because in NA the first day there were 4. It was picked 4 times and banned once, and then in the second day it was banned 3 times. It was picked 3. Yeah, they didn't want to play it. They didn't want to have to deal with the Gnar anymore. So
Yeah.
I think he's honestly going to enter must ban status for a lot of teams.
Yeah, like, if you can't play it, you pretty much are going to have to ban it, especially if the other guy can play it too. And another thing is, it's at the end of the season, you don't even know the other team's champion pools. Like, that's like the really scary
it's
thing.
not.
Like, you might let it go through and you're like, crap, like, he plays it.
It's going to be like TSM at Worlds with Nidalee. They banned
Yeah.
Nidalee every game because that was like the one champion that Dyrus just doesn't play.
Yeah.
But we had some other new picks come out this weekend. Some of them were
Yeah.
pocket picks. We had Porpoise Pops bring out Nocturne to pretty devastating effect.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later. I feel like TSM did not do their research that game. Like Nocturne and Orianna are like the signature champions
Of
of.
teammate, yeah, no, they definitely are.
Actually, Orianna was brought back too. Like actually, Orianna was hit a bit of a drop in being played for a while. I think
Yeah.
we talked about this. And Slushy, oh my God, that was such a good Orianna. Like
Well, he
I
played
think
her
he,
more than 50% of his games in the
Yeah.
challenger scene last summer. And it's
So
like
we'll talk a little
TSM
bit
didn't
more
know
about
how to
Slushy
play
later.
against Orianna either.
Yeah, no, it was weird. We'll
They
talk a
just
little bit
would
more
walk.
about Slushy
They'd be
later.
like, "Oh look,
But,
Oriana's ball's on the ground. Let's just have four of." Like they would walk over it. It's not like Sushi
Yeah.
would move it onto them. They would walk
Yeah.
over it. Like there's one
Yeah.
Turtle and Lust Boy got like double killed underneath a tower, and
Yeah.
it's just because they literally just walked on top of the ball.
Yeah, it was not the best thing I've
And
ever seen.
people are just like, I think people forget that
Yeah.
Oriana's a burst mage once she gets enough AP. Like she deals
Yeah, I
a
know.
ton of damage once she gets like that death cap in there. So and
Yeah.
there's so much CDR in the AP item builds right now. So
Yeah, no, seriously. The one thing I wanted to note though is another pick that came out was Kog'Maw. Actually, we saw Cloud9 play it. We saw Liquid play it. I think he's making a little bit of a return because
protect the AD comps or kind of come back in
because
style.
Lulu has really and it's tied to Lulu's resurgence in the mid lane and support. Like if you notice, Lulu is a flex pick for top, mid, and support right now.
Yeah, which is
She's
really good
highly,
for teams.
highly prioritized, and I think that with Lulu. And like some of the like Lucian getting nerfed, Lucian could just like jump in and squish Kog'Maw basically, and some of these champions getting nerfed has kind of helped Kog'Maw come back into prominence. I think he's not the best against Graves, but like if you lane swap or like maybe you ban Graves or something, you'll be in pretty good shape with that Kog'Maw, and you'll be able to protect him to an extremely powerful extent heading into the late game. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's a lot of options for protect the AD carry combo now. Liquid played it really, really well. I haven't.
Yeah, that was a sick comp.
Because
Like that was just champions they were great at already. So.
Yeah, no, it really helps. And like previously, the team that was kind of known for being good at the protect the AD carry combo, like COG plays it, but they're bad at it. TSM,
Yeah,
I
no,
think,
they
was
actually
really
are.
the
TSM
team that
was really
played
good
it
at it.
and was actually good at it. Like,
But
they
Turtle
would,
can't play Kog'Maw. He can only play Tristana.
no,
so
yeah,
when
so
play
they do
they're in
Tristan
a
in
little,
that comp. Because
they're
he's
in a little
too.
bit of a rut.
Yeah, his position is good enough, and he likes the mobility. He likes champions like
Yeah.
Graves, Tristan that can jump around. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's the only he might do Caitlyn, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
That's
He's a
about
good
it.
Caitlyn. Yeah, no.
So
Yeah, who
coming
knows?
up,
We'll have to see what happens there.
so next week we have Liquid gets to go versus C9 and TSM, and then we have Fnatic versus Rocket and Gambit in EU, and then Rocket gets Elements as well. So Rocket was
Yeah,
one of the teams in EU that kind of entered the season as, in the argument for one of the top three teams. You know, they made some pretty decent roster changes.
Yeah.
Brought Nuke Duck joined them. That was supposed to be their big pickup. A lot of the teams got worse, and some of the new LCS teams in EU are pretty bad. So the general idea was that they would be top three. They kind of struggled in week one. Seems like Nuke Duck, Duck
SK
made that
is
really.
just godlike though.
Yeah, it doesn't help though. Nuke Duck made this like mystifying Masia Soul Stealer purchase.
Yeah, that was
Like it
odd.
was like one of those things where he had no kills, no assists, wasn't really doing great, and then he just goes and buys major Soul Stealers. I don't think he got any more. I think he never went above the 5 stacks it came with.
Yeah, it was not. It was kind of baffling, and I don't know. Like I do think Rockhat's moves looks great. Like I have a lot of respect for Nuke Duck, but then you look at it again and you're like, okay, Wulight's good. Is he the best? I mean, I think
he played
he's
really
good.
bad. Honestly, like
I think he's good, but is he the best? No, Forgiven's the best.
no,
Or,
Forgiven.
The best.
He played
Forgiven-
so well that entire weekend. Like I am not looking to. I feel bad for whoever's playing SK Gaming this week. So I pretty much feel bad for Rokat and I feel bad for Gambit and Unicorns of Love.
Yeah.
Whose hype train was like the shortest hype train of all time. It crashed.
No.
It crashed in like one day. One day.
Oh
It lasted
God.
1 day.
Dude,
But-
okay, yeah.
Rokat could seriously, like legitimately, exit next week 1-3, which isn't a good
Yeah,
start for a team that's in eight. You got 18 games, so when you're a quarter way through, you're
yeah,
1-3. That's not a good start for a team
not
that's
in good
looking to get
shape.
to the top.
Certainly not.
Cloud9 could be 0-4.
Yeah, it's scary. Like, just think about how these teams that came in with a lot of expectations, like might come out not that strong, and it's like it's kind of strange. I do think the shortened season is good, but at the
I
same time,
definitely agree.
I think fans need to place it into context. Like saying you're just 0-2, like you said, it means a lot more when you're it's 2 of 18 instead of 2 of 28.
Yeah, especially because
You
like
know,
Cloud9, they had the stable roster. They're supposed to be the team that had the best chance of doing well in week 1. They're the only
yeah.
team that didn't make roster changes. So
I thought they'd be 2-0.
yeah, I did too. I didn't think they'd beat. I didn't think TSM would beat them. I certainly didn't think they would lose to. I didn't think they'd lose to Gravity as much as I'm hyped on Gravity a little bit. I certainly didn't think that would happen. So yeah, I think there's they have Liquid. I don't think they're going to beat Liquid. Liquid looks really good unless something happens with Piglet. Where there's just like some kind of disaster. I don't. I have trouble saying them beat Liquid next week.
Yeah, no,
COG
seriously.
looked decent. I think that's a 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, just if Cloud9 plays at this level, and CLG plays at their level last week, I'm not sure if Cloud9's gonna win. Like they were not looking very strong at all. So
No, they
I do
weren't.
think that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite possible. I do think Cloud9. I mean, I personally think Cloud9 will pick it up
I
after
think
this
it's
week.
60-40. 60-40 Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah,
That's
no,
about
that's true.
right.
I just really think Cloud9's gonna pick it back up.
And then Liquid versus. I think Liquid will beat Cloud9. I think Liquid versus TSM will be interesting just because I do think they're certainly a better team than either teams that Liquid played this week, and they will
Yeah,
be breaking in Piglet. If Turtle and Lustboy, who've looked better than they have, can
yeah,
survive that bot lane, and it seems like TSM's perfectly fine just doing lane swaps, and
yeah,
Dyrus is perfectly fine in lane swaps. So,
yeah. He's actually probably one of the best at playing under those. So yeah,
all right, so we have a quick rundown of topics left, right?
yeah.
So you wanted
Gravity and
you wanted to
teammate.
hit on Gravity, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gravity, I mean, a lot of people made fun of us after they lost to Winter Fox. But then,
We got
hey,
the shout out
the
from
next thing-
Jat saying that we ranked them
Yeah, hey,
fourth.
thanks, Chat. Thanks, Chat. Now, I actually really appreciate it. That was really cool.
Yeah, it
But
was.
anyway, so what happened was, Gravity and Teammate, I actually want to group them together. Teammate, after watching that TSM game, I think we kind of underestimated them a little bit. But I'll explain that a little bit more later. Anyways, so Gravity and Teammate, what was encouraging about their wins was not that they won against top teams, but it's that they won playing their styles. Like,
Yeah.
it's always if you randomly just snowball a game and you get up like 50k gold and you just win the game, it's like, okay, cool, but does that tell you anything about that team? Not really. So Gravity, they won because it's their multi-directional team fighting. They just attack you from every single direction at once. Like, it's like Keen, Hanser, Saint, and Bunny are attacking from like 4 different angles. Like, you can't frontline against them,
Nope.
and that's why they were able to win in spite of being down so much gold. I think the reason they lost to Winter Fox had to do with a weird pick ban phase where it seemed like they were practicing champions. I've never seen Sion, Azir come out of their solo laners, and Saints Lee Sin was infamous in the challenger scene for being extremely hit or miss. The one encouraging thing is that those champs do fit the roles of like off engagers or like main engagers. Like you can engage on Sion, Azir, and Lee Sin. So if they practice well and do good on those champions, looking good for them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I
Teammate,
definitely agree.
could I also touch on a little
Hanser
bit?
looked good.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, I think he's really good. Like I said, I think he'll be really good.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he came back really well. I mean, he was down by 90 CS to balls.
Yeah.
And he kept himself
That's-
more than relevant.
Yeah, no, his casting was sick. Like he's so good at jumping in, jumping out, like figuring out like what angles to go in from. It was really awesome. Team 8, great win against TSM. So some of the
God
struggles we
damn it.
identified with Team 8, like limited champion pools, and the fact that Cali, like when he plays, like like I said, Cali's their main teamfight carry. So if he's split pushing, he can't also be in the fight.
Right.
The thing is, Team 8, they got around that by just playing so well mechanically. Like in particular, that Nocturne camp onto Dyrus, Cali Trolls just won the game off of that, and then Salushi's Orianna was godlike. So we'll have to see if they can repeat the same performance on other champions,
Yeah,
right?
because
Like
TSM
I
did make a
mentioned.
few mistakes that let them come back. The turning fight was really they were by TSM's blue, and
Yeah.
Bjergsen distorted in to try to kill teammates Jungle
Yeah, and then you got
Corpus
Ori on
Pops,
ulted, I
and it
believe.
missed by like it didn't
Oh.
kill him, and then Ori got the ult off before and just wiped out
Oh
Bjergsen
yeah,
from
I
and
remember that. Yeah. So the one thing that I did want to note though is yes, like we said, we pointed out their champion pools weren't the best, and yes, they did win games on those champions. However, the key thing here is, I think we actually, just based on those games, we kind of underrated their strategic play a little bit.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the game against CLG shows what happens when they don't get their champions. They're in a lot of trouble because their mechanics aren't very good on other champions. But
No, they're
actually,
not.
their strategic play was quite good against TSM. Like those
Chris
camps
was a
top
god.
lane. Yeah. Oh
Chris
yeah.
was a god the entire weekend. I am shocked. Okay, I'm shocked.
I gave him a 1, but I did know, if you remember, I spent a lot of time talking about how he gets really good on certain
Right.
champions.
And maybe
and
he
he'll
found
really
him.
go on.
Maybe he
Gnar,
found
if he gets really good at Gnar, like, he was
if
actually
that's the thing is though, like they might just
Oh.
ban it. Like you can
Yeah.
just ban Gnar Rally against Chris now, and then who's he gonna play next?
We'll see. I mean, maybe he'll have some other champions. He's always
Yeah.
he has always had that Riven and Jace carry picks in his pocket. Those don't really fit what Coast wants to do, but
No, they
I
don't.
mean, man, that was so. He had like a 30 KDA or something. That was so
He went like
impressive.
13-1-13 or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it was crazy. And then so
Oh
they
my
still
God.
do have like they still have the small champion pools. Like I think if Slushy's not on Oriana, I don't think they win that game yesterday for sure.
Oh yeah, back to teammate. Yeah, back to teammate.
I don't think they win that game at all. But God, Chris, I can't. I'm shocked because honestly, I thought the guy was just his performance when he was on Velocity was just not good. You know, in lane, he was up on Gamsu, but he was only going equal as Flares, and I guess like Flares isn't great. But
Yeah.
once he got into the team fights, his he was really
Yeah,
good.
Chris's specialty has always been, his specialty has always been, he always gets a very good conceptualization of certain champions, and he just takes off from there. It seemed like it was happening on Gnar. Like, he was actually pushing Gnar really to the limits. Like, there were some plays where he'd be baiting into, like, onto Gamsu, and then he turned to Mega Gnar at, like, the last second and just win the fight or, like, scare Gamsu off. And I was like, wow, like, he really, like, wrapped his head around that champion.
Yeah,
So,
no, his Gnar is really good. And if there's a champion
see
you
what
want to be
happens.
really good at right now, it's Gnar.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he picked the
seriously.
right one. All right, so
yeah, you're getting so much from that.
meet your makers.
People said they'd be good, and they were terrible. So basically what happened was they were like, yo, man, let's build the team around Selfie. And then Selfie got a name change, and then he got a team change by leaving Meet Your Makers. So what happened was, that was so dumb. They could still have Impaler. I think Horo was really good. People made fun of them a lot for picking Horo over Amazing. I don't know how I feel about that one yet. I personally thought that in Season 4, Horo was a lot better, but Horo played terribly in the Challenger student thing, like the Challenger promotions. But it looks like he's recovering. His Olaf was actually really good. Like, he was
That's
doing
a
a
weird
lot
pick.
of work.
I love
It
seeing
was a weird
Broloff,
pick.
though. Broloff,
I like
also
seeing
my
it, yeah.
favorite champions, man. I'm so glad he's like meta possible now. He's
Yeah,
like
it was a
viable.
weird pick, but he was carrying them. It's just that they were playing with a solo queue player, and it didn't turn out too great. He actually played pretty well in Ari, but
Mimer
it just
was
didn't
bad.
come together.
Mimer was not
Yeah,
good.
Mimer was not very good.
Mimer was
It
not
just
good
didn't
at
come
all.
together for them. It's kind of a shame that happened. Maybe they'll recover. I mean, I think they have the talent, like Horo, Mimer.
Well, I think Mimer was
Mr.
on
Rollins, I
Renekton,
guess.
and I don't think like he built Trinity Force Renekton. Renekton's only been back in like the viable champion pool for like a few weeks now because they literally just patched him back to being.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't. I think the teams are testing to see if he's viable. I don't think he
Yeah.
is yet. I think he still needs more work. So I didn't see many decent Renektons, and it feels like the Renektons and Signs we did see is just like they just exist. All
Yeah.
they do is exist. They weren't doing. They were,
Yeah, no, exactly.
So that was weird. And then Horo was good. Mr. Riles was not as good as he was last season, but he was against.
They had a general slump. Their whole team slumped.
He held
basically.
up pretty well against Forgiven, all things considered. Like he,
Yeah, I mean,
he probably
Forgiven is
handled
so
Forgiven
good.
a lot better than Woolite did. For sure.
Quick pause on Forgiven. Has anyone noticed that Forgiven refuses to build attack speed? His build is Bloodthirster, Brutalizer,
No, he got a Shiv. He got a Shiv in there.
Infinity. No, this is his build when he used to play, and when he played Graves, his first 4 items were
It's like
Bloodthirster,
the
Brutalizer,
ultimate Legolas
Infinity Edge.
build. It's like the greatest
Last
Legolas
Whisper.
build of all time.
Yeah. No, he did that on Caitlyn too. Like, people don't remember this, but when he played Caitlyn for Copenhagen Wolves, his build was Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and he would do like 2,000 damage with the Ace in the Hole or whatever. Like, I kind of think it's interesting that he's bringing that back. I'm not sure why he conceptualizes AD carry in that manner, like building an all AD, ironically, much like Genja, except for Given's like the opposite style, like always in the fight. But we'll have to see, what happens. It's fun. It's funny, but I actually think the Bloodthirster's shield is a good fit for Forgiven's playstyle because he hates building defensive items.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so how about Dignitas with the God? All right, so we talked about how
they were bad. Like, they're not very good.
You know what's
they should have lost that game.
Coast could be 2-0. If Coast hadn't, Coast could be the only other team that's 2-0. And honestly,
they should have been 2-0.
What was going through their mind?
Okay, Kiwi Kid and Gamsu just had random so. This was literally Coast's thought process.
Kiwi got his best champion.
Kiwi flash ults onto Jesus and kills him, right? And then they do the Baron. Like, what was the thought process of that? Impaler explained that in that interview.
5, let's do Baron.
It was so confusing. And the best part was that Dig was like, let's let them do Baron and then just backdoor them for the win.
Props to Crumbs. Crumbs is their shot caller.
Great call.
Props to Crumbs for just being like, you know what, we hate Baron. Let's push down mid. And then obviously props to Gamsu for just walking up to them and literally just pressing R3 times. That was the most, anticlimactic, stop the ports of all time. It's just like, guys, we gotta, people are sprinting
chase all around the map.
There's flashes, and then he just, doop, 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 and then they're their ports are...
Coast was just oh my god, I quit.
I was, my jaw was, on the floor, I was just, for,
it's
3 minutes.
Quick pause, though. I do like Coast. That being said, I do think Coast is pretty good. I mean, the teams they played were honestly Dig and Winterfox with 3 subs. That's the worst 2 teams in the LCS right now. In my opinion, I think Dignitas is worse than Team 8 just from the first week.
Oh, no, but yeah, definitely.
I thought Shifter
we ranked Team 8 and Coast as the bottom 2 teams, but I think Dignitas is going to be 10th now.
Yeah, I thought Crumbs and Shifter would be better, and I thought Gamsu would be better, and they're good. It's just I don't even know
Shifter's
about
LeBlanc. Shifter's LeBlanc. It's in theory he should be a really good LeBlanc, but his LeBlanc's always has been super subpar. Yeah,
we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I do think Dignitas has the potential to put it all together.
I predicted that. Remember my 10 predictions for 2015? I predicted Dignitas would get relegated this split, and they wouldn't make it back in.
I remember that.
And then they added all relegation, so I could prove to be the next god.
Yeah,
all right, so Forgiven.
Yeah. All right. I mean, this guy's really good. I mentioned his all AD build earlier. He's just so good. Basically, his style, he's like the Uzi of the West. He fights you for every single creep, and now he has a support who Unlimited was bad. Forgiven always would say Unlimited was good. He was just carrying Unlimited. Unrated is not the best, but he's a very solid laner. He always takes the first step up. He zones well. He always always goes for that harass. He had that really good synergy with Candy Panda in lane at times. And Forgiven, I think he's taken it to the next level. It's just crazy. This guy, I mean, I don't want to overreact, but just based on Copenhagen Wolves play, and just see him come back and not only maintain but exceed that high level, for all we know, Forgiven could be the best player in the West by the end of this split. I don't know if that'll happen, but for all we know, it could happen. You know what I mean?
I think he's going to be the best AD carry. I don't think that's much of an argument. I don't think that's not a stretch for it all.
It's just mind blowing, how good he is, and how he. The one thing about Forgiven that people don't notice is his champion pool is Lucian, Caitlyn, and Graves. That's it. He doesn't play any other champions. He plays. I mean, no, it's okay, but I just wanted to point that out. I feel not a lot of people think about that because he used to get Lucian and Caitlyn banned from him, and he'd play Graves back when Graves sucked, and he would do badly, or he'd play Varus, and Varus sucks.
I'm sure he's fixed his pool. I mean, he hasn't played in a long time.
Yeah, no.
And he dominated lane so hard. I mean, they were just crushing.
Yeah. Right. That's the one red flag for him, though, that I just wanted to put out there. I do not think... I mean, he's a very motivated player. I'm sure he's fixed that issue.
All right, so Team Liquid. We're going to wrap up Team Liquid. All right, so they went 2-0. Legit?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, quick thing to note is they didn't play the most fearsome opponents, but it's not the... I feel I've always said this. It's not who you win against, it's the way you win. And the way they win is... It looks like they're a team that can just play any style, and they can still win and crush you.
Which they
did. I said, three of the best support players, 2 really solid carries they brought in. Piglet hasn't even played yet, and they look so good. I think they're crushing.
All right, Fnatic, legit or not?
So I think they, yes, but I take it with a grain of salt. Like I mentioned, sometimes when a new team comes in right off the bat and they play like a style that kind of catches people off beat, like they march to they march to their own beat right there. People don't really know how to play against that, and we kind of saw that happening like their heavy roam style. But I don't know, man. Yellowstar just godlike shot caller. Their players are really good mechanically. Like for all we know, Huni and Fabin might be the most mechanically gifted solo laner combo. For all we know, right? Like
Right.
they're so good mechanically. They have big champ pools. They know what they're doing. And Steelback is really good too. That guy was really good on SK Prime when he played in the challenger scene. People kind of overlooked him a little bit, but he was really good. And Reignover, people made fun of him for being bad. He looked really good. Maybe he's gonna be bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know anything about that guy. But I just don't know enough to tell. That's my honest opinion. I just don't know enough to tell.
Giants started 2-0. Is that legit?
Okay. Quick to spin. Right before the show, we were looking at top teams and we're like, wait, Giants is 2-0. Who do they play? They played Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers. Like,
Right.
I don't know, man. Like, Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers. Like,
I'm gonna say I'm going not legit. I think no, not legit. Nope, not legit.
No,
I
you don't
think they
think
can
so?
definitely finish maybe top 6, top 7.
I think that Frederick is one of the best junglers in
Yeah.
EU.
So I think
Yes,
they
he is.
can avoid any chance. I think they can finish top 6, top 7 to get in that non-relegation area because obviously
Yeah.
top 7 doesn't make playoffs, but 7th does
Yeah.
avoid relegation.
Yeah.
All right, so then we had a bunch of teams. We had 4 teams finish 0-2. All right, so Cloud9, legit a
They're gonna be
0-2
good.
team or not legit?
No, they're gonna be good. I really think they'll be good. You know that the
They only
one
have to make
moment that
top
made me think
6.
Cloud9 was back was, remember when they lost to Gravity? They lost like 5 team fights and they rushed Baron and they took like 8 towers. They literally took every single tower off of Gravity's map, other than inhibitor towers. Actually,
Yeah,
they
they-
took that one Baron.
Yeah,
And
no,
that
they
was
could
such
come
good
back.
rotational play. Yeah, that was such good rotational play. Yeah, like I said, I think Gravity. I said Gravity is the best team fighting team, and you can't win team fights when High has not hit a single ultimate all weekend,
Nope,
right?
you can't. Definitely
Like,
not.
come on, man. So I think they'll be good. He just needs to recover a little bit. And I think they'll be good.
I think they won't. I don't think they can win the split anymore. I honestly think that 0-2 start. They can't win the regular season. They
Oh
can't,
yeah,
So they
Yeah,
can't
no.
get the #1 seed.
that's a hole.
Obviously,
That's a big hole.
all you have to do is be top 6 and make the playoffs. Then it's fair
Yeah.
game.
No, but that's a big hole. Like, yeah, I agree with you on that
Yeah.
one.
All right, so
H2K.
H2K and MIM and Gambit, all 0-2 teams, legit or not legit?
I think they're all pretty bad, to be honest. I mean, I think out of the 3, I think Meet Your Makers is the worst. We mentioned this earlier, but
Yeah,
I think
yep.
they're done for. I mean, but the thing about all 3 of these teams is they have players who are really talented.
Wait,
Who stepped
H2K
up.
had probably the most hype of any of the EU challenger teams coming
Yeah,
in.
but then they lost Fabibin. Like.
Right, and to be fair,
That's
they
fine.
were against. Oh, they have Ryu. It's not like Ryu's trash, but they
No,
played.
I don't know why people want to pretend Ryu is trash. It's the you know those there's like a group of European fans that are really anti-import because they want to be like, oh yeah, like all our talent is like really like natural, homegrown, organic, like
Right.
we're so good. I mean, I think that to some respect that's true, but on the other hand, I think that imports actually would help out the EU region. Like just an example, like what if SK imported like Shifter instead of Jez's last split? I
They
think that
did
would,
lose to Fnatic, which is okay, good pass. But here's the thing, Airwalks went 5-0-12 against them. Like Airwalks and Soren
not-
did really well against H2K Gaming, and those are both players that most people thought were the worst at their position in the UL.
Yeah, I'm
that's not good.
I don't know, man. Yeah,
I think it's Doublelift. Not Doublelift. Red. I think it's Gambit. Gambit of those 3 teams that has the best chance of not being as bad as they looked.
what makes you say that?
I just think they have better players. Though. Like they lost Unicorn
Yeah,
to
they
Love
do.
and Rocket. Both are those. Those are teams that are both probably top 5 teams, top 6. I just think. I think they can. They're Gambit. I think they can come around and at least avoid being. I think they can make top 7.
Oh, I mean, I would be
Pinoy looked
surprised.
good.
Yeah, Noe is good.
I think Nick Loke. I think it was just like Cabochard didn't look as good as I thought he would look. For
Edward
sure.
didn't look that great either.
I
Sadly,
thought he'd be
he's
a
like my
lot better
favorite
than he
player ever.
looked. So
Yeah.
not really sure what to say about that. I guess against Unicorns of Love, they gave Power of Evil Syndra, so I'm not sure how much we can count that. Like
Yeah,
literally-
that was a weird draft. They gave them Thresh, Gnar, Syndra, which are the 3 best champions. Like literally just their 3 best.
They gave Syndra, Jarvan, and Gnar. Like okay, all right. So they got Sivir, Jarvan and Gnar, which is like 3 Korean power plays, and then you gave Power of Evil his best champion.
Yeah, man, it's all about Coach Darian. It just seemed like Darian was coaching him for those picks. Like,
Yeah, no, I
what are you
agree.
doing, man? Oh my God.
So,
But yeah, no, we'll see. I mean, I think that, like I said, all these teams are ironing out kinks. It is early in the season, so we'll just see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's hard to make a definitive statement on them now, but yeah, these are our predictions, I'd say, for how these teams are going to do. We'll see if we look smart.
I think I'm already gonna look smart in a few. I said right after New Year's. I said Dignitas was gonna get relegated, and I think I'm looking pretty smart on that one.
Is it? Yeah. It's gonna be,
I said they wouldn't be in the NALCS. Yeah, I said they wouldn't be in the NALCS in the summer split. So who knows? Apart from that, though, shout out to Gravity for making us look much smarter yesterday than they did.
Yeah, thank God. Oh my God.
They restored our faith. They rewarded our faith. I still believe.
No, I think they'll be top 4.
I do too. I agree. I think it's going to be TSM, Liquid, Cloud9, the top 3 in some order, and then Gravity in 4th. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're reaffirming our belief. Reaffirming our belief officially right now. We'll see what happens. Hey, we reaffirmed our belief after they lost to Winter Fox. Okay, so
we did. Yep. On Twitter, it's on record.
So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, we can look really smart. All right.
That wraps up our first episode of Riftwalk. We went a little longer than we wanted. Our goal is for this series to be about 40 minutes long. Just be a rapid fire rundown of like the news from the past weeks. Kind of like our version of Part of the Interruption from ESPN. So I think next week you're probably going to see us try to guess a little earlier, probably closer to after the LCS, and also obviously I won't be above Ryan Tang because I'm not Asian.
What?
And
oh.
So yeah, the overlay's a little off, but yep, that's Riftwalk. Wrap it up, and thanks for watching, guys.
All right, awesome. Hope you guys like it. Please.